but I'm going to read something. And so all this idea of being fun and so on is going to be irrelevant today. It's going to be dull. And my job here is to, if you enjoyed the conference, my job here is to ease you into the end of the conference so it won't be so painless or so painful for you when it ends. It reminds me of a comment that Elder Holland made once in a meeting I was in, where he said that he hoped that when he died he came to high priest group meeting because the transition would be barely noticeable. I've been working on a project, what Lou Mitchell likes to call a secret project. A little item that I'm trying to write and put together, and what I decided to do is to choose a couple of passages from the final chapter of that secret project. Now you have to understand that what I'm going to be doing here is trying to analyze the evidence that I've already given in the chapter. And it's evidence of the kind that you've already heard, except I'm hoping to get it in a more concentrated dose than we typically get it. But I'm going to look at two specific issues. One is the nature of the dictation process of the Book of Mormon here in what I'm calling Section A of this little piece. And then Section B, kind of preliminary logical analysis of the different hypotheses that have been offered for the production of the Book of Mormon. And this is kind of a rough take. This is something I've written this week. And so I'm hoping to get some good criticism on it and see how it works. All right, so I'll just start off reading and commenting on it. I hope it won't be too dull. But they did leave it wide open for me, largely because I refused to give them a title. And so this is what they get for allowing them that latitude. One of the most interesting developments in the Book of Mormon studies recently is the fact that Royal Skousen's work on the manuscript history of the Book of Mormon has begun to appear. And so now the manuscripts of the Book of Mormon itself can be entered as evidence in analysis of the book. Royal has devoted a decade and a half to intensive study of the text of the Book of Mormon, most especially to the original and printed manuscripts of the book. It's his strongly considered opinion that the manuscript evidence supports the traditional account of the origin of the Book of Mormon, and that it doesn't support the notion that Joseph Smith composed the text himself or took it from any other existing manuscript. Yet all of the witnesses of the process thought that Joseph Smith somehow saw words and read them off to his scribes. But I'd like to look at some of the relevant data. And this is, as I say, just kind of a brief summary take. First of all, the evidence strongly supports the traditional account in saying that the original manuscript was orally dictated. The kinds of errors that occur in the manuscript are clearly those that occur from a scribe mishearing, rather than from visually misreading or copying from another manuscript. And I can give you lots of examples of those, but it would take time. I will in the written version of this eventually. The printer's manuscript, by contrast, shows precisely the types of anomalies and problems that one would expect from a copyist's errors. He's visually copying from the original manuscript into the printer's manuscript. Professor Skousen's meticulous analysis even suggests that Joseph was working with 20 to 30 words at a time in this process. Now, it's apparent that Joseph could see the spelling of names on whatever it was that he was reading from. When the scribe had written the text, he or she would evidently read it back to Joseph for correction. So the prophet evidently had something with him from which he was dictating, and against which he could check what his scribes had written. But what was it? The witnesses are unanimous that he did not have any books or manuscripts or papers with him during the translation process, which involved lengthy periods of dictation. In an interview with his son not long before she died, Emma Smith insisted that Joseph had no text with him during the work of translation. Question: had he not a book or manuscript from which he read or dictated to you? Answer: he had neither manuscript or book to read from. Question: could he not have had and you not know it? Answer: if he had anything of the kind, he could not have concealed it from me. Now, Emma Smith can speak authoritatively regarding the period during which she herself served as a scribe. What about the much longer period when Oliver Cowdery was taking dictation? While they were in Harmony, Pennsylvania, where most of the Book of Mormon text was committed to writing, Emma says that Joseph and Oliver were not far away from her. Question: where did Father and Oliver Cowdery write? Answer: Oliver Cowdery, your father, wrote in the room where I was at work. A correspondent from the Chicago Times interviewed David Whitmer on the 14th of October, 1881, and got the same story. Mr. Whitmer emphatically asserts, as did Harrison Cowdery, that while Smith was dictating the translation, he had no manuscript notes or other means of knowledge, save the seer stone and the characters as shown on the plates, he being present, that is, he, David Whitmer, being present, and cognizant of how it was done. Similarly, the St. Louis Republican, based upon an interview in 1884, reported that Father Whitmer, who was present very frequently during the writing of the Book of Mormon, affirms that Joseph Smith had no book or manuscript, did, he, Whitmer, having every opportunity to know whether Smith had Solomon Spaulding's or any other person's romance to read from. David Whitmer repeatedly insisted that the translation process occurred in full view of Joseph Smith's family and associates. The common image of a curtain hanging between the prophet and his scribes, sometimes seen in illustrations of the story of the Book of Mormon, is based on misunderstanding. Further evidence that whatever else was happening, Joseph Smith was not simply reading from a manuscript, comes from the Omaha Herald, reporting in perhaps somewhat condescending language, an 1886 interview with David Whitmer. The newspaper's correspondent speaks of the prophet's need to be spiritually or emotionally ready for the translation process to proceed. This rigorous exactment required him to be humble and spotless in his deportment in order that the work might progress. On one occasion, the prophet indulged in a stormy quarrel with his wife. Without pacifying her or making any reparation for his brutal treatment, he returned to the room in the Whitmer residence to resume the work with the plates. The surface of the magic stone remained blank, and all his persistent efforts to bring out the coveted words proved abortive. He went into the woods again to pray. This time he was gone fully an hour. His friends became positively concerned and were about to institute a search. When Joseph entered the room, pale and haggard, having suffered a vigorous chastisement at the hands of the Lord, he went straight in humiliation to his wife, entreated and received her forgiveness, returned to his work, and much to the joy of himself and his anxious friends surrounding him, the stone again glared forth its letters of fire. And you note here, incidentally, his propensity to retire to a grove of trees to pray when he was faced with a serious problem. It seems to me this adds plausibility to his accounts of the first vision, and there are other stories of his